So what if you could use this kind of wild psychic tool, something first cooked up for military spying, to look back in time and actually perceive the consciousness of the Buddha? Well, that's the incredible claim behind the Farsight Institute's Buddha Project. They use this technique, which, is pretty controversial, called remote viewing, to observe Siddhartha Gautama himself.
And it all starts with this number right here, 0.88. This is the project's statistical score. Now, what does that mean? Imagine you have 5 different people, all remote viewing, but they're completely blind to the target and totally separate from each other. This number measures how much their perceptions lined up. And with 1.0 being a perfect match, 0.88 is an incredibly high level of agreement.
And look, that high score is so important because statistically speaking, the odds of those viewers describing the same strange, specific details just by pure chance, less than 1%. So Farsight's argument is, look, this isn't just a bunch of random guesses. This is a correlated set of perceptions that kind of forces us to ask, what did they see?
So that gets us to the big question for this whole explainer. If we just set aside the history books for a minute, put the scriptures on the shelf, what did this really unconventional tool actually show them? What did 5 separate minds with no information perceive about Buddhist life, his enlightenment, and even his death? Let's dive in.
Okay, so the first thing that jumped out, and honestly it's pretty stunning, was a completely different take on who or what the Buddha even was. This wasn't just about a man who found enlightenment, it was about what that enlightenment was plugged into.
Almost every viewer, working on their own, perceived a second, massive consciousness connected to Buddha. One viewer even gave it a name, A squared. You can think of it as a higher self, this huge, brilliant, guiding intelligence that wasn't just inside Siddhartha, but was actively steering the ship, And this is where that 0.88 score really starts to mean something. Just look at how their descriptions lined up. You've got one viewer perceiving a guiding force, something that feels like a sun. And then you have another viewer, completely separate, seeing a bigger mind that acts like a puppeteer. They're using different words, but they're describing the exact same unbelievable idea. A greater consciousness operating the physical Buddha like a vehicle.
This quote from one of the viewers, man, it really drives home just how huge this energy was perceived to be. The idea was that the physical body of Buddha was just a vessel, a conduit, that could only handle a tiny little trickle of this immense power. The full force of this higher self, as they saw it, would literally just incinerate a physical body.
So if Buddha was basically channeling this colossal energy from a higher self, okay, so why? What was the point of it all? Well, according to the viewers, it wasn't random at all. It was a very clear, very strategic mission. They saw his mission breaking down into these 3 clear steps. First, he would channel. His moments of enlightenment were really him downloading this incredible knowledge from that sun within. Then, step 2, he'd strategize. So those times he was in deep contemplation, that wasn't just about feeling blissed out, it was about planning. How do I explain this to people? And finally, step 3, he had to teach. He felt this deep responsibility to show other people how to find their own inner sun.
One of the viewers, Aziz, he just nailed it with this simple phrase. It was a kind of spiritual monkey see, monkey do. The goal wasn't to be some god on a pedestal demanding people to follow him. It was to demonstrate a new way of living. The whole message was basically, hey, look what I've done. I've connected to something amazing, and I'm here to show you exactly how you can do it too.
All right, buckle up because this is where the whole story just goes to another level. The viewers didn't stop at his life. They followed his consciousness right through the moment of physical death, and what they saw was anything but a normal passing.
You have to pay close attention to this sequence because it's extraordinary. First, his death. It's a conscious separation. He leaves the body with full awareness, knowing exactly what's happening. Then, he has an encounter with these mysterious figures described as wearing diamond-cloaked outfits. After that, bam, he gets pulled into what they called the trap, a system that basically shreds his ego and files his consciousness away in a wall of orbs, a process Farsight often describes as a soul recycling system. But here's the kicker. This time, he becomes aware. He realizes it's a simulation, a trap that he recognizes. He's been here before. And that awareness leads to the final, critical step, the choice. He doesn't get wiped. He breaks free and consciously decides to come back to continue his work.
To describe this whole insane breakout, one viewer, Gemma Janae, came up with the perfect analogy. This wasn't just dying. It was a planned, conscious escape from a spiritual prison. She called it the death version of the Underground Railroad.
So that leaves us with the biggest question of all, right? If his life was a mission and his death was an escape so he could come back, who was he working for? Who was on his team?
The first clue about this came when the viewers saw his consciousness being put into a new form after he escaped that trap. One viewer, into some, saw a body that was, well, not human. She described it as having gray skin and bigger eyes.
And then you get the backup. A totally different viewer, Shantae, sees something eerily similar. A cute new form with a large head, large eyes, and a small body. Do you see the pattern? Two blind viewers, one bizarre, highly specific detail that they both land on independently.
So when you put all these pieces together, the higher self, the deliberate mission, escaping the trap of death, the new non-human body, it led Farsight to this one overarching theory they call an extraterrestrial strike force. The idea is that people like Buddha aren't just random, amazing figures in history. They're part of a planned, off-world intervention, sent here to help nudge humanity's spiritual growth in the right direction.
And that leaves us right here, with this absolutely mind-bending idea. The data from this project doesn't just suggest a strange reality. It suggests a designed one. A reality where a human life can be an ET mission, where enlightenment is about plugging into a higher self, and where death itself is a trap that you can learn how to beat. If any of that is even remotely true, it changes everything we think we know about our past. But the biggest question is, what does it mean for us, for our future?